FlyinGato squad, welcome back to the channel. My name is Elias, and if you are new here and like car content, consider subscribing by hitting the button below. So, as you can see again, it is snowing in Pennsylvania. It's been doing that quite a lot these days, and I wanted to share with you guys the 5 negative things about owning the Honda Civic Type R during the winter. So let's go ahead and start her up and get going. Definitely wish it was sunnier days for the S2000, but unfortunately, gotta put her away. Alrighty, so the 5 negative things about the Honda Civic Type R as a winter car. Now before we start, it is snowing a little bit. We probably got, I don't know, half an inch of snow, maybe a little less on the ground, so not a big deal. Nothing to really write home about, but I felt it was the right time to make a little video since it's, 15 degrees out and it's been, 10 degrees, 5 degrees, and I've kind of noticed a couple of quirks about the Honda Civic Type R. So let's get started. Now, as we're just setting off, first thing you really should know about the Civic Type R, and basically all the Civics in the Civic lineup, is that they take forever to warm up. Now, if you turn your car on and you let it idle for 10 minutes, I don't recommend you doing that. But if you do that, in most other cars, you will get a decent amount of heat, and it should be enough to kind of defrost your windows. If you do that in the Civic Type R or the other Civics, you're really not going to have much fun, because 10-15 minutes later, at least in my experience, it's still going to be nice and frosty inside and outside, because the engine just doesn't get enough warmth in it to warm the inside of the cabin, and so you really do have to scrape that ice off yourself if you leave the car outside like I do. So that's really one of the first negatives that really comes to mind. I just set off in the car, and until you really start driving it, you really don't get much heat out of it at all. So that's something to keep in mind if you're going to be driving this car in the winter. The next thing you notice is really, with the cold theme, is the very, very, very cold shift knob in this car. Now, a lot of people have complained, the shift knob gets really, really hot, gets really, really cold. Now, I'm very used to this because all of my cars have steel or aluminum shift knobs that get really cold and in the winter, and get really hot in the summer. So, I've done something to combat this, and that's gloves. Get yourself a nice fitted pair of gloves, something that you don't really notice you're wearing, but it'll protect you against the cold or the warmth of the car. I have nice driving gloves as well that I use in the summer, as my S2000, my Prelude, everything that I own has metal shift knobs. I have to be able to combat that hot shift knob, or in the winter, that very cold shift knob. Now the next negative is not really, a lot of people don't really care about this, but to me, I guess I'm getting kind of spoiled, and I'm getting a little bit older in my middle age here. And it doesn't come with heated seats or heated steering wheel. A lot of cars and trucks these days are coming with heated seats and steering wheel. It's a really nice thing to have, especially in the winter. You get in the car, and like I said, this car doesn't warm up almost at all when you're leaving it idling there, if you do that. So really what I prefer is to have a heated steering wheel and heated seats, so you turn the car on and set off right away, and you can go ahead and feel warm touching the steering wheel and touching the seats. Now, especially the seats, heated seats are so good. I have them in the 335D that I drive, and that's why I like driving that car a lot during the winter. I get the car, I put the car on, I drive it along, get those heated seats going, and man, those are so comfortable. I think Honda should put heated seats and heated steering wheel in basically every car they sell. I would love it if they had it in this car. I know it adds a bit of weight. I know it's not the most sporting thing in the world, but as I've been reminded by Honda corporate themselves, this isn't a race car. So heated seats and heated steering wheel will be a nice touch on this car, and this doesn't have them. So something to keep in mind. Okay, so the next negative thing about the Type R in the winter is that it's quite a bit noisier when it gets really cold out. Now, what do I mean by noisier? There's a few things here. So first, the interior, especially when you set off in the morning, everything kind of cracks and pops and rattles just a bit more, and that's because as the temperature drops, plastics get harder and a little more brittle, so they'll vibrate against each other more, and you'll hear that a lot more as you drive around in the cold. To me, that's not a big deal. This car is already known to be a kind of a rattle trap from the factory. There's a couple of things that they can do to kind of mitigate that. This pillar before used to rattle a lot. Now it doesn't rattle as much anymore. They put some foam under there. Honda Pakistan, good job on that. So that hasn't rattled since then. There's some rattles over there sometimes, but honestly, it's not a big deal. The other thing you're going to be noticing is that the transmission is going to be a little bit notchy. Now, I don't mean my transmission issue that I've been having. Actually, when it's really cold out, I don't get any grinds at all. And you're going to notice that the transmission is going to be a little notchier. It's going to be a little, you're going to be, not crunchy, but kind of, you'll notice it. It'll be a little bit stiffer to get it into gear. It'll make a little bit of more of a noise. That gear knob is going to be, a little crunchy in there when you're getting it in there. Again, not a big deal. Just take it easy when you first set off. The other thing that gets a little bit noisier as well is, of course, the brake squeal. So the brakes tend to squeal already. They squeal a lot more when it's really cold out, and that's something that you have to expect with a high performance car like this. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again, if you need to get rid of that brake squeal, if it really bothers you, you need to change the brake pads. I'll put a link below with a recommendation for a nice brake pad that would probably, if not eliminate it altogether, it'll definitely help have a lot less brake squeal in the car. So that's something to look at if you want. Otherwise, I mean, these are little minor things that don't really matter in the long run. And then the last thing I would say, the negative about the Civic Type R, is the fact that it really doesn't have much ground clearance at all. Now, if you take a look at the Civic Type R's height versus the, let's say, the Civic hatchback's height, it's not that much different. It's only maybe an inch or I don't know exactly what the difference is. But once you take into effect all these different spoilers, you got the side skirts, the spoilers, the diffuser in the back, it's going to be quite a bit of a difference in terms of ground clearance, and you want to be definitely very careful. Let's say, for example, if it snows 6 inches or something like that, you're going to be scraping up the storm if you're going to be driving your car around. You're basically going to turn your car into a very ineffective snowplow. That's something you want to keep in mind. The other thing is that this car is wider as well, so it's something else you have to keep in mind as you drive along. You have a wider car, you have a wider track as well, and you may get scrapes and bumps if you're not careful. There's snowbanks sometimes, big snowbanks on the side of the road that can build up if you get enough snowfall, and if you don't watch out for those, if you kind of scrape them or hit them a little bit thinking that they're just snow, it'll come off. Well, you're going to be in for a bad time, because those snowbanks turn into blocks of ice, basically like hitting a wall if you hit one of those. So definitely something to keep in mind if you drive a Civic Type R in the winter, or pretty much any car for that matter. That pretty much wraps it up here, guys. I don't have anything else negative to say about the car in the winter. It does just fine in the winter. It's not a big deal. Remember, it's a great car, it's an amazing car, but it's just a car. You can drive it in the winter, no problem, if you want to. If you want to put it away, again, that's not a big deal at all. It's up to you. It's your car. But, it's a car at the end of the day, and you can drive it in the winter. It deals with it just fine as long as you're careful and, you don't do crazy things in it. It's almost, I would say it's similar to owning a motorcycle. If you own a motorcycle and you ride a motorcycle, you're kind of aware of the weather. You're kind of aware of what's happening in the weather. You're going to want to make sure that you have all-season tires on this car. You don't want to drive the summer tires in this kind of weather. You're going to be prepping, make sure if it's going to snow a lot, let's not take the Type R out, because I don't want to be a big snow plow. If you're in the snow, if you're driving in the snow, you're going to make sure that you stay away from the sides and things like that. It's just a few little precautions you take, and other than that, the car drives beautifully in the snow. You've seen it before. I'll put a link there if you haven't seen it yet, me driving in the snow. Alright guys, thanks for watching. As always, if you haven't yet, please go ahead and click that subscribe button and hit that like and hit that thumbs up, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.